Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Hellmouth Hotline. I'm your host, Rodney Stewart. We're getting into some more of the Hammer House of Horror in this episode. We're getting very close to the end of this box set, so I'm juggling about a few ideas of what we're going to do on the show after this box set finishes, because we're currently, as you know, skipping between Buffy episodes and horror movie and television episodes. So right now the playlist is kind of open for those odd days where we're not doing Buffy. So if you've got any suggestions for shows or movies that you want me to cover on the podcast, please feel free to get in contact with me via the email. The email is hellmouthhotline@gmail.com, and yes, I really appreciate it. Let's get into it, guys. This is an episode called The 13th Reunion. Hammer House of Horror, great little series here. This one is The 13th Reunion, and in all honesty, when I'm watching a series, I am constantly waiting for the week episode. It's very rarely you'll get an entire series that are all seriously strong episodes. Now, there has been a few in this series so far that have been a little bit iffy, but this one here, in the first 10 to 15 minutes, maybe pushing towards 20, I was thinking to myself, right, we've found the weak link in the series. This is not looking good of getting any better than what it is. Basically, the beginning of the episode is there's a reporter for a woman's page in a newspaper, and her editor gives her an assignment to go to a fat farm. They've got a report that the things that these people are doing to help people lose weight are, they're kind of soul crushing, and they're not being treated well. So she goes in undercover to a fat farm, basically to uncover the abuse that these people are apparently getting, according to this complaint that they've received. And she meets a fella in there that she gets along with. They go to dinner and whatnot, and they get on well. She gives him her phone number, and she writes it in the back of his hand. At the fat farm meeting previous to that dinner, he was told that he was doing great and he should go and binge that evening as a treat, and they give him a tablet to speed up his metabolism. After she gives him the phone number, they part ways at the fat farm, go back and get into their respective cars and leave. And while he's driving, the pill they've given has speeded up his metabolism that much that he's just, he's freaking out. And there's a part here in the episode where it's weird. It's probably they're trying to visually show how this pill has affected him. He looks into the passenger seat and he sees a version of himself looking at him and laughing, and there's a van behind him trying to run him off the road, and he gets that part alone was a little bit, it's a bit weird that they did that. I get that they're probably visually trying to show that he's freaking out. This tablet they've given him has screwed up his system entirely, but in the greater scheme of things in the episode, that didn't really make that much sense. Anyway, this lorry drives a truck, basically. There's some people don't get the term lorry meaning truck. That's a whole other story for another time. It's just I used that word while I was in America and people just didn't get it, so truck, we'll go with that. Yes, he gets run off the road, gets killed, and these undertakers happen to be there to pick him up, which is the opening scene of the episode, I should say. It opened up with these two coroners coming in to a morgue and seeing this guy on the table, and they check him out and he's okay, but they chop his head off. Doesn't show that there, but they left the knife go for him. That's where the episode opens at. I should have started with that, I'm sorry, but it's a masterful episode. It's very good at misdirecting you. Like, I'm just I'm coming straight from watching it to record this, so it's still very fresh in my mind, but I messed up that bit, sorry. It's masterful in the way that it sets up the Undertakers and the Fat Farm, two completely different things. There's a guy that works for the Undertakers that goes to the funeral after this guy gets killed, and he meets the girl, the reporter that this guy got the phone number off. And this guy that works for the morgue is, he's been suspicious for a long time that something's not right, and he's trying to get her help to go try and find the truth. And they team up, and basically he tells her that the guy that got killed in the accident that she gave her phone number to isn't getting buried. The coffin has been taken somewhere else, and they managed to break in there during the night, open the coffin, and the body isn't there. It's a mock-up of a body wrapped up like a mummy, essentially. So now comes real misdirection in the episode, and even coming back over it in this review in my head, there's so much packed into this episode to keep your mind in one place instead of another place. And we get to the stage where they're thinking that, okay, this Undertaker is working for the place where the Fat Farm was at, and it's a medical industry as well. And we think sort of midway in the episode that this company is known to be working and trying to replace limbs, and that's sort of the researching into people with diseases that are losing limbs, having to get arms cut off and whatnot, and they're trying to work out a way of actually, taking a good arm or a good leg and transplanting it to another patient. So that's where their mind is going. And again, this reporter, she goes to her editor and she wants to go undercover as a patient and try and uncover the truth, because it just does not seem legal what these guys are doing. So she gets in to the place and she becomes a patient. She gets a room for the night, and once lights out come, she sneaks out of her room, goes looking for the body of the guy that got killed that she gave her phone number to, and we found his corpse headless again. This is another thing that happens throughout the episode, and that's a bit of a misdirection as well. And the guy that owns the clinic, she sees him taking the body, putting it in the back of his car and leaving, and she follows in her car, and they come to another mansion, and she sneaks in there to try and find out what's going on. And this is where I'm going to try and taper off in the review, because I really don't want to spoil the ending of this one to you, because it's genius in the way that it was written, it's genius in the way that it was edited, put together and whatnot. Some of the acting in it wasn't fantastic, but by the time we get to the last, you don't figure out what's happening until the credits are ready to roll. I mean, they don't drop the hammer until probably 2 minutes before the credits start to go, and the message has started to sink in about 5 minutes before the end, and you kind of see what's happening. Where she ends up at, the title of the episode is the 13th Reunion. This mansion is where this reunion is happening, with a group of people that went through something 13 years previous, and they meet once a month. And the Fat Farm, the deaths, the Undertakers, it all starts to make sense within that last 5 minutes. And by the time the credits start to roll, I was just like, yes, that was expertly done. Such a good episode. So happy to say that about this one, because, you know, as I did say at the beginning of this review, I thought that I found the weak link in the chain for this series so far, but, you know, out of some semi sort of weakish episodes, nothing has been really a series ender. Really, in my mind, I've enjoyed all of them in some way, shape or form. This one here is definitely probably not one of the best ones in the series, but very, very surprising. If you give it that 15 to 20 minute allowance at the beginning of the episode, like you jump out at any point there, you're thinking, gosh, how scary could this episode actually be? And you know, how much horror can they get out of a fat farm? And turns out you can get a heck of a lot. So definitely this is one that I would not skip over if you do happen to check out this box set. This has been a production of Coins Age Media.